With infinite complacency, men went to and fro over this globe about their little affairs, serene in their assurance of their empire over matter. H.G. Wells, The War of the Worlds. Hey, get away from that stuff! Ice Cube, The War of the Worlds. 2025. Moving. Moving is what brings us together today. And the fact that I haven't recorded a video in a while. I think it's about time we correct that. Hype be a wild mistress, and I have a tough time buying into her shit at any point these days. I don't do it because I wish to be a contrarian, but anytime I hear from a group of people about how something's the best ever, the worst ever, scariest or funniest, or any other such superlative, I take it with a grain of salt. Not because I'm some big-time smart boy who can see through all of the marketing. No, that's not it at all. I just know when something's being marketed.
I'm smarter than you.
And that comes from a lifetime of having been suckered in the past when hearing that a thing is the whateverest of all time. And then I consume it, and maybe it's perfectly fine, possibly even good, but then I gotta deal with a bunch of people whom I know are not as plugged into internet zeitgeist as I am saying, hey, I saw a thing that was claimed to be the whateverest of all time, and I disagree. It wasn't the whateverest of all time. I distinctly remember this happening with a movie called Veronica from 2017, which is a decent, at best, little religious horror flick, but somehow it got around that it was one of the scariest movies on Netflix, and a lot of very disappointed people informed me that they saw it and were let down because they don't understand the hype train powers forward like an unrepentant fuck machine, and there's no stopping it once it gets going. Even if it's wrong, it's just gonna gyrate its way onto the next thing to hype up. So when I saw that the worst film ever title was getting bestowed upon the new Ice Cube War of the Worlds movie, which I guess if nothing else is at the very least immensely fun to say, I had to assume it's probably not that bad. Because I have seen some heinous films that could earn a title like that, and oftentimes the ones that get called that are actually kind of entertaining. I tend to enjoy movies that get called the worst, but often those films have some redeeming element to them. Maybe they're not always made by the greatest of people, but there is something endearing in the fully confident incompetence on display that's just captivating to watch. Movies like The Room or Troll 2 or Wish Upon are all terrible films in every conceivable way, but I appreciate their existence because they bring people together. They bring people together today, maybe not in the way they were originally intended, but there are watchable elements to them.
Hey.
Does War of the Worlds 2025 fit that same mold? No. Not really. I mean, I got a few laughs at the absurdity on display, not to mention the completely staggering levels of laziness that went into practically every aspect of its production. I mean, when it comes to production, to me, the bad films that I enjoy tend to have some semblance of a production, and you can make fun of it all you want, but there was someone somewhere who set up some cameras, gave direction, and filmed something. There were at least some moving parts that required some level of craftsmanship. It might have been bad craftsmanship, but at least it was there.
I'm not all there.
War of the Worlds 2025 is so lacking in practically everything that it's kind of amazing. For a quick rundown, it's only relatable to the original novel or the 1953 movie in name only, and that there is an alien invasion what take place. Honestly, I don't mind that it's a new take on the material. I think the idea that future generations are all going to have a go at this story with how they think humanity is going to respond to this type of concept makes it timeless. There are already many interpretations of the original material. I personally like the reverse imperialism bent, where a warmongering civilization tries to kill the inhabitants of a distant land full of people that they view as inferior, but instead of their horrible diseases killing off the indigenous population that they have no immunity to, instead it's the warmongers that get killed by the diseases in which they have no immunity to. Which is pretty dope. But before you give H.G. Wells too much credit, he does, in the book, refer to Tasmanian Aboriginals, as he's decrying what was done to them by the European colonists, as inferiors that were human-like. So that's kind of horrible, but in his defense, it was the late 1800s, and he was on the cusp of getting it all right. At least he had a thing to say, and War of the Worlds 2025 tries to have things to say also, like about government surveillance, kinda. It also wants to have the miracle Deus Ex Machina be a computer virus, kinda. But it's also about healthcare and cancer research, kinda. And this all works because it's War of the Worlds, kinda. In reality, this movie is about Ice Cube. His character has a name, Jim, Bill, or Bob, I don't know, pick a fucking name. He is Ice Cube, and he works at the Department of Defense, spying on citizens using drone cameras, CCTV footage, hacking into their laptops, and listening in on their phone conversations. He went from the NWA to the NSA. He went from no Vaseline to hacking into your Amazon cart to see if you're ordering too much Vaseline. Crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. And there are no two people on God's green earth that he likes spying on more than his own adult children. He follows their every move, even going so far as to berate his daughter for eating a muffin at a coffee shop after he hacks into her phone to see what her order was. He even hacks his son's PC and deletes a game that he was playing, which is intensely fucked up. If I found out my dad hacked my computer and deleted Silk Song, I wouldn't have a dad anymore. Ice Cube soullessly sits at his desk, and we watch his every single move while he has screen capture and webcams going constantly. He uses apps like WhatsApp and Amazon and Facebook. We see him with his mouth agape, eyes dead, reacting to shit he's doing on his computer. He's like the laziest form of YouTube React channel, where the real content's happening in the lower thirds and there's just a big dumb face watching it all happen. I wouldn't know anything about that, though. I tried to think of a good comp for this, and this movie's like Unfriended meets Citizen 4. And if you're worried that those are old references, they fit because this movie feels old. I think, in my heart of hearts, I believe that the initial script was written when the Edward Snowden stuff originally went down. It was a script that had something to say about the government spying on its people, but then it never went anywhere, and then filmmakers watched Unfriended, or, produced executively Unfriended, and thought, wow, this shitty-ass movie was incredibly cheap to produce. I'm gonna do it again. And they managed to get enough money to pay for a pseudo-celebrity, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube, in this instance, but then they had no money left after they hired him, so the entire movie had to be filmed in his house in front of a blue screen, and with the $50 they had left over, they had a pizza party, I imagine. Cheese and pepperoni only, no extra toppings. That costs more. Because certainly none of the budget went to pay for special effects. This looked like an asylum production. And I hate criticizing special effects because I know those artists get the shit end of the stick all the time. They're incredibly easy to blame. It's very lazy to do so. And make no mistake, there are plenty of other things wrong with this movie before you even sniff the visuals. But holy shit. The Martians, or whatever the fuck they're supposed to be in this movie, they look like they were rendered in MS Paint from a computer that's not even on. I think ultimately the problem is that none of it fits or feels right, like at all. Ice Cube is reacting to the takeover of his home planet by a hostile alien force with the same care my cousin gave me when he learned that I had 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Polite indifference. Ice Cube watches a news reporter get directly hit in the face by a meteor, and his honest-to-God reaction is, aw. Like he splattered toothpaste on his work shirt. Like, what? Aw? That's what you've got for this? Aw? What do you mean, aw? You can't go, aw.
What an eccentric performance.
There is a scene where he watches his son running for his life while they're on FaceTime together, and Ice Cube half-heartedly shouts, "You gotta get out of there, man."
Thanks, man. No problem.
I think what it comes down to is Ice Cube's just not the right guy for this role. Like, he's supposed to be an employee of the Department of Defense, and he's just not great at delivering the official legalese type dialogue you would expect someone in that position to use. Instead, he sounds like an angry grandpa who 30 years ago said that a former friend of his was butt-fucking another one of his former friends. But, you know, like in a homophobic way. The reason you come to a movie like this, though, is because you like excitement. And if that's what you're after, I gotta tell you, this movie is about as exciting as you would imagine watching a guy watching the end of the world on his computer would be. He does get involved directly eventually because Amazon needs its product placement. And it turns out the aliens in this, they're not interested, like in previous adaptations, in moving to a new home as theirs dies or harvesting an existing population or anything fun. No, they want to eat data. Yeah, that's right. They want information because they eat that. They want to eat all of the info on the internet with their nano machines or whatever. I mean, there's all that Homestuck lore, and they want to know everything there is to know about it and still not understand it. I don't know shit about shit when it comes to Homestuck. Several aspects have been explained to me about it over the years, and I'd sooner be able to solve cold fusion on my own before I could make heads or tails of any of it. But I tell you what, if I get 15 patrons on Patreon, I'll do a video on Homestuck where I make a God's honest attempt to get it. Subscribe now. So how do Ice Cube stop the aliens? Well, who cares? Because we have a human bad guy to deal with. Oh, joy. The aliens as the antagonist, just not interesting enough. No, we need a villain that we can defeat by hanging up on him in a Zoom call. Because it turns out he was behind the government surveillance. Not the kind that Ice Cube is doing, because he's the good guy, and that's just sort of okay. No, the secret extra government surveillance that only Bad Guy Man knew about, and it was so strong that it acts as a beacon to the aliens that eat data. It's extra surveillance somehow. The regular internet data is like unleaded gasoline, but when the government is the one compiling it secretly, it's like premium plus. Like you struck a vein in the Gulf Coast and killed all the wildlife, or sank a ship off the Aleutian coast and killed all the wildlife. I think 2 examples is enough where you kill all the wildlife.
There is nothing out there. All there is sea and birds and fish.
And?
And 20,000 tons of crude oil.
But Ice Cube, in the interest of going full treason like he was a wife of Henry VIII telling him that he was wrong about Jesus or some shit, he gains access to secret files, and practically every popular UFO or UAP conspiracy that you've ever heard of in your life is about these aliens that, again, eat data. They eat Facebook in this movie, and good fucking riddance. Great Aunt Gertrude was taking advice from a few too many weirdos, and we had to confiscate all of her dick pills and artillery. The evil government bad guy man knew that this was going to come to pass, but he did it anyway because he assumed he could use the super extra surveillance to predict how people think. Kinda. I mean, like, they bring up Skinwalker Ranch, and fuck you for that, by the way. Like, ooh, I hate those guys. Using Native American folklore for your stupid-ass ghost stories and aliens. Oh, that shit just pisses me off. If we get 30 patrons on the Patreon, I will make a video about Skinwalker Ranch. Subscribe now. I guess in the grand scheme of things, none of it really matters. In the span of about 35 minutes, Ice Cube spies on his daughter's super special cancer research that can cure disease by rewriting DNA, and also helps her give birth by hacking a Tesla and having it autopilot her to a field hospital. It's like that old saying, out of the frying pan and into a self-crashing frying pan. It is lucky that Ice Cube spends all that time spying on his kids, because it convinces them to let him work with them. His son helps him to hack the government so they could stop the evil government man, and the daughter helps him upload DNA code to the aliens because they are machines and also organic, and they have cake and they can eat it too. And then they all work together with Amazon Prime same-day delivery services so they can get a USB drive that's needed to plug into the alien mainframe and wipe them all out. In the interest of being fully prepared for this video, I reread the original novel and watched the 1953 and 2005 films because I wondered if there would be anything of note, anything worthwhile to say in comparing all of the available adaptations, but my ultimate conclusion is that that was a waste of my time. And it's not worth anyone else's either, because this movie is its own standalone stupid thing. Some of its dumber moments gave me bouts of sensible chuckles, but there is nothing meaningful here. It is a lazy movie that feels like it cost $5 to make and is content that if in its entire existence, it makes $6. If you want to watch Ice Cube scratch his beard and rub his eyes as he watches 240p footage of nostalgia critic ass explosion effects over JPEGs of famous landmarks, then oh boy, there are worse ways you could spend 90 minutes of your fleeting existence on this giant rock hurtling endlessly towards oblivion. Subscribe now.
Get away from that! Get out of there!
And that is it for this video. I thank you oh so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, good, because that was the whole point. Check the links in the description because that's where you can find all of my other work. There is a lot of it, so check all that out. Join the Patreon, get 24-hour early access to videos like this, and stay tuned because there's going to be some changes coming to it for more content, more good stuff. We're heading into exciting times. I hope you are prepared for it. Support me if you can. Love me if you must. Have a great rest of your day.